Thank you, Liam.
Have a good day, guys.
Okay. Now, I'll use my gym voice as best I can, but if you're not having trouble, just tell me. Mike, could you speak up? Could you say that again? So we make sure that you hear. Gave you a poster, and it looks like a Steve Nash poster, but actually it is our long-term athlete development model. And this is a very important concept that I want to just spend a little time to go over with you so you understand it. And basically, it's a rectangle, and that all children enter at the bottom. And you can see there it's called active start. So that's about from 0 to 5 years old. All kids enter into activity. We do not, in basketball, promote any adult organized basketball at that age. So if you're thinking of starting up the Truro 5-year-old team or the 3-year-old team, we would not recommend that. Okay? Active start is mostly being active with your parents within your family. Okay? The next one is called fundamental stage. That's from about 5 to about 8 and 9. It's not based on years, it's based on development. Okay? How many people are working with kids in that age? Anybody? Okay. Again, we do not promote at that age any what we would call traveling type teams, 5-on-5 type basketball. That is more what we would call Steve Nash youth basketball, and Darren's going to do a lot of things with that, a lot of fun games. Basically what you're doing is you're teaching them fundamental movement skills through fun basketball activities. You're making it fun to be active, but they're learning fundamental movement skills like running, jumping, throwing, twisting, bending. And it's doing with bright colors, music, imagination, things like that, because that's what kids at that age like to do. When you try to play 5-on-5 at that age, it doesn't really work, and I'll explain why later on. Learn to train. This is upper elementary, grade 5s and 6s. Okay? This is when we can start to teach skills. This is when kids can really start to focus a little bit on learning skills. They can start to learn how to train. We, again, do not really promote 5-on-5 adult game at that age. It is much better to play 3-on-3, progress through 4-on-4, and maybe the last sessions might be a little 5-on-5. Okay? And we'll talk about that a little later on. Okay? Why? And you'll notice all children go through those first phases. Everybody goes through that. Now we get into junior high age is when the big change takes place. There's a section here called Training to Train, junior high. There's a band right here. You can just see it. That's what's called competitive recreational basketball. Think of that as like intramurals. And then there's the biggest piece up here, which is called Active for Life. Not every child is going to be able to make the junior high team. And a lot of it is because of physical maturity. I've worked for 6 years to solve this problem, and I can't get it to work. I've tried to get every kid to grow up at the same rate, but for some reason, it's not working. I've just had to admit that some kids grow faster than others. Okay? We have an awful tendency to relate talent to physical maturity during those years. Because somebody's bigger, faster, stronger, we think they're more talented. And it's a myth. They're not more talented. They're just bigger, faster, stronger because they're growing faster. So we have to make sure during this stage that we have ways that kids can still enter into our sports system and not get excluded. One of my biggest missions is not about creating future Steve Nashes. It's making sure we have kids in our society that are not obese. Okay, I just spent the whole month of July in Europe. They will die from smoking. Guarantee you. Europeans are going to die from smoking. We're going to die from inactivity. Okay? We have to make sure our kids are being active. And it's around this age when they go from upper elementary into junior high when a lot of kids stop being active. And a lot of it has to do with self-confidence. Okay? So we have to make sure we find ways to keep kids active at this age. Then there is training to compete. This is high school. Again, there's still competitive recreational. Okay, active for life. You can see it's getting small. Learning to win, that's university. Training to win, that's professional or our national teams. Okay? This is not all about everybody making this. This is about making sure that everybody has a place within basketball. The important thing for you as a coach is to know where you are on this. And what does the game look like? Okay, so anybody has seen me do clinics before knows that I like to use everything's different. I love analogies. So I have two board games here. Actually, it's the same game called Monopoly. How many people play Monopoly? That's the adult game. This is the junior version. Why would they make a junior version? Well, like, that's a good game. Why make a junior version? It makes it more fun. Because why? Why is it more fun for them? It's shorter in length. What do you notice about the boards? The junior one is more colorful. What else? It's smaller. So when we play basketball with younger kids, what do we have to do? We have to make the court smaller, the baskets lower, the ball smaller, and I also think you make the ball lighter. I think a lighter ball is actually more important sometimes than a smaller ball. So it's not like a shot put. I actually do a clinic sometimes. I bring in a medicine ball, and I have adults go out and shoot with it. I say, that's what you're making kids do when you shoot with a real ball at a 10-foot basket. That's like shooting with a medicine ball. Okay, so we've got to make it smaller, lighter. Now, but there's another important concept here. If you've played junior Monopoly, there's no such thing as buying houses and building hotels. And you only use $1, $2, $3, $4, and $5. There's no 100s and 20s. And why? It's fun, but kids can't handle the concept. They don't understand the concept of rent. They don't understand the concept of buying hotels, and that's too complex. All they want them to learn to do is roll dice and go around a board. And if you land on something, you have to do something. You either get to buy a property or you pay money. That's about all they can handle at that age. And they have fun with it. And they like to play it. But when you put in all these other rules and things, it just goes over their head. And that's what happens when we play the adult game with young kids. When you put in zones, ball screens, strategies, tactics, it's too much. They can't handle it. Now, as an adult, when I play Monopoly with my younger nieces and nephews, I can manipulate them to win all the time. Oh, you see that blue? I'll give you the 2 railroads for those 2 blue, Boardwalk and Park Place. You like trains, don't you? Yeah, I like trains. Good. Here, give me those. Right? I can manipulate them. They trust me. Well, it's the same when you're coaching young kids. They will do what you ask them to do because they trust you. But that's not really teaching them how to play. So this is not just about manipulating little kids into little strategies that you have, that you saw at the adult game. It's about teaching them a game that's appropriate for their level. Okay? So we're going to show you today a lot about what does the junior game look like for kids at this age. And I did a pilot in London, Ontario, and I had probably boys these age. They were, they call minis, so they would be like grade 5s and 6s. We played boys and girls, so I had girls on this side of the court, boys on that side. They played 5-on-5 first with 2 legitimate referees and the real rules played. Okay? In the first, and I videoed both sessions, and I charted what happened. In the first substitution on the girls' side, there were only 3 attempted passes, and none were completed. The exception was on the inbounds, because in the inbounds, what has to happen? The defense has to go back over half. So they could always complete that pass. But once they tried, they could only attempt it 3, and they completed none. There was only 1 basket scored. Okay? There were about 3 girls who never touched the ball. Okay? But they were playing 5-on-5. Can you picture what's happening? One kid would get it, dribble down, try to score, lose the ball, or try to do something, lose the ball. The most common thing that happened in the game was an inbounds because of all the violations and turnovers and things like that. So the biggest skill they were getting to practice was one girl would get the ball, stand here with the referee, everybody else would go down the court, and one little girl would stand there and pass the ball. That was the most common thing they practiced. They didn't get practice dribbling, passing, shooting, which is the things they need. The second session, we played 4-on-4. As soon as we went to 4-on-4, the number of passing, dribbling, shooting almost doubled. Why? Because there's 1 less person on the floor. It's amazing when you take that 1 person off the floor, what it does for opening up space to allow now for somebody to actually try to dribble to the basket. If help comes, I can make 1 little pass. And that's how the game is played at this age. The game at this age is not about running a pattern.